Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Thrive with Ina podcast. And we are on today with a fabulous guest, Nicole of Motherhood Moves. We are super excited to interview a person from similar field of what I actually do. We're very similarly positioned in a wellness industry, different niches and different involvement and different kind of client base, but we both strive to do the same thing: help people be healthy, help people feel healthy, specifically women. And welcome, Nicole. Thank you so much for having me interview you today. I am so excited for our listeners to hear your story, to hear all about your journey and how Motherhood Moves became a thriving business that is visiting all of the local fitness studios and yoga studios and language schools and any place really where moms go to provide an amazing service, a fitness class for moms or expecting moms. So without further ado, please welcome and tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Motherhood Moves started almost 2 years ago. I've been a mom for 18 years. Believe it or not, I have an 18-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, and I have a 1-year-old. So I'm pretty much going through all the phases of life in motherhood right now. um, by trade, I'm technically a special education teacher. I did that for a few years of my life. And then I was home on maternity for my second. And fitness has always been something that has just been a huge part of my life, on and off, for a really long time. And being home on maternity, I was like feeling a shift, I guess you can say, in like where I was supposed to be as a teacher. I made a lot of new mom friends, and just went through this journey postpartum again. And I was like, okay, I need to be teaching moms, no longer be teaching kids. I just felt like it was something that I needed to do. And I decided to stay on leave and say, hey, I'll start a business when I'm home and see what happens and see if it grows in the next couple of years. And then I was supposed to return to work this September, and I ended up having another baby. So number 3 is here now. So I'm technically still on leave, deciding what I should be doing, but growing this business has been like the number one thing for me, to help moms, bring moms together, build this awesome community of moms who just maybe don't know where to start on their fitness journey. Maybe they're just getting back into it. Maybe they were athletes in high school and then they become a mom and they're kind of lost in that identity, just kind of showing moms that, like, hey, you should be putting yourself first, right? And how can we do that together? And the greatest thing about my classes is you get to bring your kids with you. So you don't have to feel guilty.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think the guilt that we hear about in my wellness establishments about moms leaving their kids at home and missing out on those important moments of life while taking care of themselves is a very big pain point for our clients. And you figured out that amazing business solution and offer for moms to not feel guilty. They just bring their kids with them. Why not? So I really love your business model. How did you come up with that idea?
So it's very funny. So I always posted on like my regular page on Instagram, me working out almost every single day. I was using an online fitness program. So I had accountability, nutrition, and online fitness from a company that I was working with. And I was really an accountability coach. So I was working with moms, women, whoever wanted to work with me to get them to work out. And I was always posting my exercises. And I had friends always reach out and be like, you should be doing something with fitness. Like, you're posting this. And I don't even care if anyone cared. I was just posting it. And I'd have people reach out to me and be like, you inspired me today. You posted your exercise and I got up and I went for a walk today. And I would always have people from everywhere just always tell me that. And I was like, well, that's cool, you know, but I was a teacher. So I was just going to work and teaching. And then, like I said, when I was home on maternity, I have a girlfriend who lives in California and she had a baby. And I guess they were doing an outdoor workout class in California. And she sends me a video of it because she's at the park. And she's like, you should be in California doing this. And I'm like, what is that? And she told me that this business exists, that you can go out and work out with your children and bring them with you. And I was like, okay. So I thought about it, but then I was still teaching. I didn't have small children again. Like my oldest was older at this time. So I'm like, how can I start a business centered around bringing your children when I don't even have small children anymore? And then, as the universe would have it, I ended up on leave again and having a second child 15 years later. And I was like, okay, this is like my pull. This is my sign. This is what I should maybe start and try to do. And just like you have your puppy sometimes, I have my little puppy here with me today. You want to say hi? So I decided, why not try this business model that my girlfriend in California had shown me. I'm like, we're in New York. I don't know if the weather will work, but we've gotten through one winter so far, and I'm just staying positive and hopeful that the ducks will all be in a row, and it's, you know, where I'm supposed to be, I am. So that's it.
Yeah. That is such an amazing story.
Yeah.
When you ask the universe for something and then it delivers, but doesn't just deliver in one set, it just gives you two little babies. Like, well,
Yeah.
you wanted to have motherhood moves, so how about two kids to work out with?
I mean, yeah, it's pretty
Best story
funny
ever.
because I have a lot of clients will message me and be like, so I have more than one kid. What do I do? I'm like, oh, you bring them. You bring them all. I have a mom who has 4 children, and when there is no school, you better believe she shows up with all 4 of her kids. She's like, this is my routine. Like, this is part of my routine now, right? I'm a stay-at-home. And listen, I don't always just have stay-at-home moms. I mean, I have stay-at-home moms who this is part of their day, so their children know. Mommy works out for 30 minutes. I get to play with my other friends. And then if the rest of her stay-at-home life is cooking, cleaning, taking care of her household, going food shopping, whatever else is built into her day, she builds this into her day.
Yeah.
And then my working moms, I offer virtual live classes, weekend classes, and a nighttime or an afternoon class. So if you work, you can still be part of this community, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is pretty amazing. You also do a lot of pop-ups with local establishments. How do you structure those? Do you reach out to studios and see if they'll host you, if there's something that you do on recurring basis? What kind of business model do you follow there?
So when I first started, I actually started by teaching like very small. I was like, all right, I don't want to like jump into this too crazy. Knowing me now, I'm like, I jumped into everything crazy. My business model is very messy action. If you know, you know. Like, that's just how I am. So it's pretty funny. I started outside. It was February, and I did like a couple of pop-ups outside. And I'm like, what am I, nuts? It's cold out. But people were coming. And then I had a friend and made a very nice connection with an indoor place that I still do a lot of stuff with. And throughout February, it was a little cold, January, February, March. She was allowing me to use her indoor space. And then it dawned on me, like, I'm collaborating with this one space. I'm like, why am I not reaching out to other spaces, right? So then I just went all in. I was teaching like 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week. And I was very much pregnant. I was like 20 weeks pregnant when I started this.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, what am I going to do here, right? This is crazy. But I just reached out and I introduced myself. I've worked with a lot of, like you mentioned, other small places near you and your studios. I just reach out and I tell them my model, and sometimes they see the Instagram and then they'll reach out to me. I try and do those special events like once or twice a month, because my membership, like my moms, if you are on a membership, you're paying a membership fee. So I also, that's my big thing with my business model is I want it to be affordable.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm doing those pop-ups, those might be an additional cost.
Mm-hmm.
So I try and make that very fair in price when I'm structuring those things too, so that if you want to come or you want to do certain things, you can afford it. You know, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Technically, I'm on a budget, and I know a lot of them are, right? So it's like, how can we make it fun for you? Your kids get something out of it, and it's affordable. So I try and structure a fun place once, sometimes twice a month. I also look at the distance. So, like, if I'm on the North Shore, I make sure I do one on the North Shore, then the South Shore. Maybe I go east, then I go west. So I look at the structure of that once or twice a month. So yeah, it really just depends. Today, I actually, it's funny because I don't always just do play places. I live in Sayville, and I go to Cornucopia, the grocery store, and do workouts in there because it's a health food store, and they're supporting my local Sayville business, right? I have done it at the Greenery in Sayville. Have you ever eaten there?
No.
Yep. So that another delicious whole food place. So it's pretty cool because it's not just like fun places. It might be, other places that will just nourish your body and your mind.
Yeah, I love that. It's incredible. So where do you, besides the pop-ups, where do you usually host a class? You mentioned outdoors. Do you just pop into a local park? Is it your backyard? Like, where do you hold classes, and how do people get your schedule?
So my Instagram is the most up-to-date schedule. I post it every week. And then because I'm a Sayville mom, I pretty much was at this park over near my house, like every day, 2 times a day. And I noticed no one was ever at it. So I'm like, how do I get in contact with whoever this is? And it's our local soccer field where all the school soccer practices are held. I contacted someone over there and just said, is it okay that I, use the field? I noticed nobody's here between the hours of 9 and 10 or whatever time. And I got the okay. And now I'm always pretty much at my local soccer field over here. I will do a pop-up in other locations. And then I reach to that Holbrook location. I'm in Holbrook, pretty much in Holbrook and Sayville 1 to 2 times a week.
That's amazing.
Sometimes more. But yeah, it really just depends. And that's like the nice part of not really having a brick and mortar. I'm like, oh, well, if this is where I'm going to be, and you're, want to pop up and check it out, you can pretty much find me anywhere.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you host classes without a brick and mortar and have such a following. How did you get to build the community of moms that you have follow you into all of these places that you go to? Well, wherever Nicole decides to go, moms are going. How did you build that community?
So I actually, when my second was 2 or around 2 or 1, it was right after COVID, and a lot of companies and businesses were using the outdoor spaces. I had went to a mommy and me class out in the park, and I loved her business model. I was like, this is awesome. I'm walking to the local park. She's singing and dancing for my kid for an hour. I'm having coffee and hanging out with other moms. I'm like, this is great. And wherever she went, we would follow her. And I was like, so I reached out to her and became very good friends with her. And I was like, I love your business model. How do I teach things outside? And she was like, actually, I want to go inside now. And I was like, well, I'm a little bit different because I work out, and I love the idea of getting our kids outside in all of the different elements. When it's cold out, put a snowsuit on. Yeah. Like, why not be outside? I'm all about keeping our kids outside for as long as possible. So she pretty much was like, just pick a location, get the approval that it's okay, taught me how to start a business. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. And moms just started coming. I mean, Instagram, as you know, is like huge in networking yourself. I also joined the Bayport Blue Point library and did classes in there, and they allowed outside residents. So I was able to run classes through local libraries, which I still do. I'm in a couple of libraries, so that gets my name out there. And then really, it's just word of mouth. One mom comes and then she goes to preschool drop off and she's like, hey, I'm going to do a workout. You want to come? And they're like, what? And then, you know, it's either your style and your type of workout or it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I think the first time people come, it's very intimidating because they're like, wait a minute, we're working out outside. We're working out with our kids. And there's no gym. Like, what are we doing? But it's very much a workout. So, yeah, it's interesting. But it's really just word of mouth.
Yeah.
And personality, right? Like a doctor, a therapist, anything, a boyfriend. If you don't vibe with somebody, you're not going to go back, right?
That is true. That is true. It really is. And it's interesting in the wellness and fitness industry. I coach a lot of people that either own a fitness facility or a wellness facility or are trying to open up a brick and mortar. And in our coaching sessions, we talk a lot about how people don't really come into class for a particular class or service, or maybe at first they do. That's what gets them in the door. But then to sustain a long-term client, it is all about the personality of the teacher. It is
100%.
absolutely important for us in the wellness and fitness industry to connect with our clients on a personal level, to create that long-term following, long-term commitment. As much as people want to commit to their wellness journeys, they also need to be motivated, and we are here for that. And I love that you and I share that trait and business niche. I love it, and I cannot wait to have you workshops in my studios. We have so many moms in both of the locations, and I just think that's an incredible model. So, what do the children do when moms are working out?
So normally the first few classes, the kids are clinging to their moms. So we're using them as weights. If you have a kid that's smaller and they can still stay in a stroller, moms are more than welcome to just roll up with their kids in a stroller. Most of the time after the age of 1.5, they're not staying in a stroller. So really, moms pack snacks, a blanket, toys, their bicycles, a scooter, whatever they think bubbles, whatever you think your child will be interested in for 25 to 30 minutes and not be so clingy to you. I encourage moms, bring it all. I mean, I have some moms that literally bring the whole kit and caboodle. They keep their backpacks packed and they are showing up with everything because they know they're going to get their workouts on and it's fine. Sometimes I'm holding the child for the whole 30 minutes. I usually have one on my back, one on my front. Sometimes I'm feeding a bottle. I mean, I'm there for you. So if you come intimidated and you're like, I have a baby that does not stop crying, then I will wear your baby the whole time.
I love that.
My kids are so well versed in knowing that they do not have my attention or their time that I can take care of everybody else's child, you know?
Yeah,
So
I
they have
love
a
it.
fair warning, like you're not getting my attention for the next couple of minutes. I might be giving it to someone else's. So
I love
yeah,
it. It's a full service fitness class. It's
100%.
fitness, babysitting, accountability, partnership, all the things. I love that. Um, how do you feel about pivoting from having a job and going in maternity to opening up a business and just diving straight in? You mentioned that you pretty much take all of the things head on. And how was that change from going a structured job to creating your own schedule, being your own boss, creating your own business platform, and all of things? Like how do you feel that different,
I put this one.
like the shift, the pivot, how did it affect you?
So it's so funny because you know, like when things happen and they lead up to a certain point, and you're like, wow. So like I loved teaching. Like my oldest and I basically went through my teaching career with her life. So my first year teaching, she started kindergarten. So I was able to like get her through school and start my career really. So I love teaching. I am so passionate about working with the special education population, like differentiating my instruction, being creative, having that sense of like helping families and working with them. Hold on, Charlie. And I love that. And that was literally like my number one thing for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But I always, towards the end of my career, I started feeling very burnt out, very anxious. Like I wasn't doing enough, a lot of self-doubt. I was sick all the time. I've never had anxiety, and anxiety was like rearing its ugly head in my classroom. It was like, it wasn't feeling right. Um, so it just wasn't feeling right. And it was interesting how the series of events kind of happened. So my last actual year in the classroom standing up in front of students was the COVID year. So I went on vacation. I came back from vacation, February break, and then school was shut down.
Wow.
I never stood back in front of the classroom again after that. So I got my own classroom again the following year, set it up, and then 10 weeks into school, they were like, you're going to be a virtual teacher for the whole school year. Because I had a lot of students in my district that did not want to come back to school that year. So they made me the district-wide special education teacher. So I did that for an entire year. And then I got pregnant. So I was like, I never even fully digested that the half a year before kind of was at a screeching halt of me standing in the classroom. I never worked through that anxiety or that feeling of not really, should I still be doing this kind of thing? It's weird to say now out loud, actually. I'm glad you asked it because I don't think digested it. But then I was home on leave, and then I was just like thinking of all these things, and I was like, okay, what are the things that were causing me that angst, that stress, that anxiety? Was it the schedule? Was it having someone else telling me how I needed to do things? Was it this sense of perfection that truly just doesn't exist? Was it comparing myself to other educators that were doing more, and I felt like, oh my gosh, I should be doing X, Y, and Z, and then I was losing sight of like my students in the classroom? Was it the stress of the parents? Whatever it was, the second that I realized and ingested, like, I'm not going back to the classroom, I have a different purpose right now. I need to start this business where I am the one in the seat, right? The driver of the seat. I can make my schedule. I can determine those factors of things that are causing this. Like, I have to do this. I have to.
I love that.
And the second that I was okay with it, I was like, it was like, I can't even explain the feeling, which I'm sure you know the feeling. It was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Inhale, get it out. I feel good. And I can't explain it. Like, there are, as an entrepreneur, let alone as an entrepreneur mom, shit gets crazy around here.
Yes.
It is hard, and there are hard days. And maybe sometimes people look at entrepreneurs like, in a way where it's like, oh, well, it must be nice, right? Like, you can do all these things. And I get that. I feel that sometimes. But then I'm like, it's hard. It is hard to do this, right?
Yeah.
I barely have a second. Think about it when you're not an entrepreneur. You barely have a second to yourself, let alone to focus on the marketing, the advertising, the connections, all these things that come about owning your own business. So, I mean, I struggle. But I'm like, how can we make this work? And is this where I want to be? Because does this stress outweigh the stress, or like take away the actual stress or anxiety that I was feeling when I was teaching in the classroom? Does that make sense?
Yes, of course.
So it's like different, but it's manageable.
Yeah. And it's so important that you found that passion, where like one day you woke up and you just knew that you had that purpose that was going to deliver a service that you needed and you were missing out on to other moms that you knew also needed it. And sometimes don't even know they need it until they find you. And then it's a lifelong commitment after that. And I love that you're found your target audience and the ideal client by basing the service on something that you felt so passionately about, which is what most entrepreneurs are good at. They're good at finding something that they love and they want to share with their communities. And then boom, they wake up with that idea and then they turn it into a business. And I love that you did that. What would be your advice to someone who is starting out a business, who is at a pivotal point like you were at once, who was feeling that anxious kind of thing in the background, saying, well, maybe this is not what I'm meant to do. Maybe I'm meant for so much more. What would your advice be?
So, real quick side note story. I had a mom who started with me postpartum who was traveling to work at like the crack ass of dawn. And then one day she like texted me and was like, "You have inspired me to leave this job." And she's starting a whole new career right now. She actually just texted me today. She's like, "This is hard." But now she's going on a whole new different like career path. She's like, "This is a different type of hard, but I am so glad that I am doing this just from coming to my class." And I was like, "Whoa, okay." So like for me, I think there's a couple of factors, right? Not everybody can say work for happiness, right? That's what when you're growing up, like I have an 18-year-old in college right now, and the only thing I keep telling her is get a job that is going to make you happy, not make you money. Happiness comes first, and then you'll make the money. I don't want you to be in a career where 5 years, 6 years down the line, you're going to burn out and you're going to be like, I don't want to be doing this anymore. This doesn't feel organic. This doesn't feel right. If you have the choice right now, you can be anything in the whole wide world. What do you want to do? And she's choosing a career that she feels like is her thing, and maybe it is, but I just keep reminding her, you don't need to go to college. You don't have to feel like you have to do all these things. Like, think about it, right? So this is what I'm telling my baby. But there has to be a lot of things in your brain, right? Like, do you have support? If I did not have my significant other back me up on making this decision to leave the classroom, it never would have happened, right? So that's number one. Do you have the support of your significant other, your family? And listen, sometimes you can do that without the support of, but it does make it a lot less scary when you have that support. And if you don't have that support, basically sell your business and sell yourself to get that support.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't believe in your business and you're not, I had $1.95 in my bank account, and I went out and bought bands from Target with a gift card. And my husband came home and saw these all in the garage, and he's like, "What are you doing with all these bands?" And I'm like, "I'm starting a business." And he's like, "Okay, psycho, no, you're not." I'm like, "Yeah, I am." But it took a while for him to buy in to what I was trying to tell him. I was like, "I'm telling you, I need to do this." And knowing who I am, he was like, "All right, whatever." So you definitely need the support. I think, it's going to be scary. It's still scary, right? Like, I'm very new at this. And they say a lot of people that I've spoken to are like, give yourself 5 years, right? Like, 5 years is a good, like, measure of whether or not. So, I mean, go into it thinking a certain way and stay positive about it and just keep trying to grow it. It's okay. Come this way. Come. It's okay. Come this way. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties. And, what do you have to lose? A job, you're always replaceable at a job. And that's what I have learned too. If you leave a career or you leave something that you feel like just wasn't right, or maybe you didn't even start it yet, in a couple of years, then you go back and you apply and you start all over again, right? Like, your time with your family, maybe your gift that you need to be sharing with people, you'll never get that back, or that time to get back.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, yes, some days my kids are going to grow, but maybe at that point, then I pivot my business model, and then I'm just personal training mom still, or maybe their kids still come, and then I can give them even more undivided attention, right?
Yeah.
It's like, who knows? But I just feel like you definitely need the support. You definitely should feel like you are I don't want to say replaceable because that's kind of mean, but it's true. Like, someone will take your spot when you leave your job. And it's just, if you're feeling that pull, and I'm telling you, when you feel it, you know it, you just have to go do it.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, absolutely. I could not agree more. I've followed on my passions for the purpose that I felt that I had so many times, and everybody that I meet, all of the entrepreneurs that I interview and all the entrepreneurs that I coach, we all agree on the same thing. Once you know you have that purpose, you've got to do it. You've got to find a way, and all of us find a way. We jump off the cliff and we invent the parachute on the way down. We all start with pretty much nothing, and then we invent all these amazing services and products that solve someone's problem. And then when there are a lot of problems solved for a lot of people, that's how you create a positive change in the world and an amazing business. And I'm glad that you were able to do that with your purpose and your passion. Thank you so much for sharing your story today with us. How can our listeners find you on social media, follow you, and maybe even take a class?
So you can follow me at Motherhood Moves. Well, Motherhood Moves, motherhood.moves underscore. And then from there, my schedule is always posted. I mean, I'm the one who runs my social media account, so you can literally message me at any time, literally 24 hours, 7 days a week. And I'm the one that's going to respond to you. So, yeah, just shoot me a message. There's a link in my bio. You can sign up for drop ins there. You can find me pretty much anywhere on the island. I'll be popping up anywhere. So maybe I'll be at your studio next.
We have to make that happen. I cannot wait. Thank you so much for coming on to Thrive with Ina podcast. I cannot wait to release this episode to the world for everyone to hear and possibly chat with you and take a class with you, or maybe grab a virtual class from you, since those are also an option. I love that you offer that as an option. We're wrapping up this episode. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And I am going to really look forward to hearing from everyone, all of your thoughts and feedback about this episode. Please like, share, post this episode on your social media. That's how we grow. We grow organically, and we get our followers and our likes from all of your shares on social media. So go for it. Grab this episode, share it on your social media, and tag both of us. Tag Thrive with Ina and motherhood.moves underscore. So Nicole's business can also get some following. And I'm looking forward to hearing all about your adventures. Bye.